Well, I'd like to welcome you all to our second panel, the Global Leadership in District Energy. Before I begin, I got your attention. I don't need to go to the movie stuff. All right, very good. You guys are playing along, tickety-boo. So let me introduce really an esteemed group of panelists. It's my pleasure to welcome them. Their full bios, again, are available in the mobile app, so I won't drill down. But I'm going to start here with our dear friend Ahmad bin Shafar. Ahmad is the Chief Executive Officer of Empower in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Welcome, Ahmad.
Thank you.
To his left is Sam Chatterton. Sam is Vice President of Johnson Controls in York, Pennsylvania. I think actually his location is the American Airlines club in most airports. Welcome, Sam. To his left, it's a pleasure to welcome Aksana Krasatsenka. Aksana is the Director of Member Relations and Knowledge Transfer at Euroheat Power in Brussels, Belgium. And Aksana, if you were listening to the last panel, we got our work cut out for us, I think. But you've been doing this work, so really glad you're here. Actually, it looks like I have this out of alphabetical. No, all right, so to her left is my good friend, Cristina Orozco, who is the coordinator of the Colombia's National Strategy for District Energy, and she's with the Environment Ministry of Colombia. Welcome back, Cristina.
Thank you.
To her left is Alexander Sharabarov. Alexander is a senior energy specialist with the International Finance Group, and he's based in Washington, D.C. IFC is also affiliated with the World Bank. So welcome, Alexander.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, our friend Werner Lutsch. Werner is the managing director and CEO of AGFW, literally the German District Energy Association, and he hails from Frankfurt, Germany, has been a participant for many times, and it's been 4 years since Werner's been with us. We're so glad you're back. Let's give our panelists a nice round of applause to get things started. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So I have prepared a series of questions. I do want to start with the conversation in Europe. You know, really what is happening in Europe? Obviously, there's big challenge. Werner, in Germany, actually the policy looks quite favorable for district energy. The government and the EU have, under agreed rules, they're promoting local heating and cooling in large municipalities, over 45,000. They've revised the definition of efficient district heating. And one thing, though, they're no longer going to support high-efficiency cogen. But are the policies in Germany setting up for the headwind that we heard from the first panel? Is district energy heading in the right direction, Werner?
Yeah, well, in Germany, we have targets, and our targets, we wanted to make it a little bit better than the whole Europe. Because, well, you said in Europe we're talking about cities with around about 25 to 45,000 people. Well, in Germany, we are overruling that because we are talking about municipalities with a population lower than 10,000 people, and we have to make heating plans for the future. And you know, in the past we had more than 50% of the heating coming from gas.
Yes.
Now, you know the problem that we in Germany don't get gas any longer from Russia. So if you have 50% of the heating coming from gas, and you know that you don't have this gas any longer, you have to think about how to change the heating strategy in your country. And therefore, our politicians said, well, then let's start it with developing much more district heating on one hand, and on the other hand, also heat pumps. But everyone knows that if you want to have heat pumps, you need electricity. Now, most of you probably know that we have shut down our nuclear plants at the beginning of this year. So it's a little bit tricky at the moment. So no electricity, no gas. So we will see what will be.
Is that why you're here?
But, well, I think we have a strategy, and last week I was at the ministry talking about this strategy, and we will develop more district heating, yes, and we will stay with CHP plants, and of course, at the moment, everybody in Europe is talking about hydrogen. So, we'll see.
The H word. Thanks, Werner. I mean, and I don't mean to make light of it because it really is a very difficult moment. But you know, I think the crisis, germinated by the tragic invasion of Ukraine, has really metastasized, right? Across Europe. Aksana, though, thanks, Werner. Come back on that. But the EU Energy Directive has called for doubling the rate of deployment of heat pumps, and also supporting measures to integrate geothermal, solar thermal, and modernize district heating systems, right? So they're saying, okay, we're not going to rely on imported gas. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to rely on Mother Earth. Are you seeing an incremental interest in renewable district energy at the moment?
Yes, thank you for the question. Indeed, as a result of the war in Ukraine, the European Commission identified heat pumps as the key solution to replace imported fossil fuels alongside with the renewable and waste heat sources. But the main aim of this communication, of this plan, together with the emergency measures that have been taken, was to reduce gas consumption. And I would say that in general, Europe succeeded in this task because the gas consumption was reduced by 13% in 2022 and by 19% only between August 2022 and January 2023, which is higher than the initial target. So the EU succeeded to reduce our dependency on imported fossil fuels. And it was a good push, it was a good first step, but I would say that the main drivers for district heating and cooling decarbonization and growth have been set in the Fit for 55 legislative package. Right. So you rightly pointed out, Rob, the Energy Efficiency Directive. The EU Commission also revised the Renewable Energy Directive. So now in Europe we have binding targets regarding renewable heating and cooling, and also sub-targets in terms of the share of renewables in district heating and cooling, and also the utilization of waste heat, which is great. There is a bigger recognition of the role of thermal energy storage. There is a push for developing renewable energy projects. So I would say that policy is really favorable for the decarbonization and growth of district heating and cooling. Now, what's happening on the ground, right? Yes. I would like to provide some numbers that come from the recently released Euroheat and Power DHC market outlook. So in total, in Europe, bioenergies, geothermal, solar thermal, the output of heat pumps, including e-boilers, represent 43% of the district heating production. So I guess it's a good number to start with. Of course, this share very much across countries. So we've got countries like Iceland with 93.4% of renewables in district heating because they're sitting on the geothermal sources. But also other countries have demonstrated significant growth in renewables between 2011-2021. The total share of renewables in district heating in France, Austria, Czech Republic, and Denmark has doubled. And I would say that these markets, the evolution of these markets, provides a clear indication also of the transition pathway of the sector in general. You asked about geothermal projects, so I've got numbers on this. In Europe, 13 new geothermal heating and cooling plants connected to district heating were announced in 2021. The largest geothermal district heating facility is being developed in Denmark, in Aarhus. But there are also very nice projects of geothermal district heating in other countries, such as Hungary, for example. In France, a greenfield geothermal heat network in Arcueil-Gentilly in the Paris region was developed only within 2 years. And currently it has the share of 60% of renewables based on geothermal and the utilization of large-scale heat pump. So this is going really well. When it comes to solar thermal, there are also multiple projects being developed in Europe. Of course, the largest capacity is attributed to Denmark. They are leaders in renewable district heating, of course. The capacity is 1.5% of the district heating production, but there are also very nice solar thermal examples in Latvia. There are projects being developed in the Netherlands and other countries. So it's a very, very nice, I would say, development of renewables. When it comes to large-scale heat pumps, it's also a very topical discussion nowadays in Europe. And Euroheat and Power released a report which shows that already in some markets, such as Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway, they already use large-scale heat pumps to upgrade waste and renewable heat sources, and the projections are very positive. So we foresee, we expect the increase of the utilization of large-scale heat pumps at least by 80% by 2030. And I would say that this is one of the main developments in European district heating markets nowadays.
Thank you, Aksana. That's a perfect segue. Thanks so much for that. What's happening is, heat pumps, but large-scale heat pumps, right? And Sam, Johnson Controls is really been a technology leader in large heat pumps. I saw a recent announcement. You've shipped 2 15-megawatt heat pumps to the city of Hamburg. Do you see the experience that Aksana just outlined in Europe being sort of translating to the U.S., where the JCI is going to enable more renewable district energy with scale of heat pumps?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. We've been selling heat pumps around the globe, and especially in Europe.
Right to the mic, if you will.
For more than 20 years, and it's certainly true that activity is accelerating in Europe, and I'm glad to hear it's going to grow by another 80%. That's a good thing for all of us. The project in Hamburg is actually using some machines that many in the audience here will be familiar with. OM chillers, similar to what we've used at UT Austin and TECO, are just applied in a different way in a heat pump application, in this case with a low GWP refrigerant or an ultra low. And we're able to achieve over 200 degrees Fahrenheit, leaving water temperatures, saving 66,000 tons of CO2 a year. So quite an impressive project.
Wait, 200-degree water,
Yep.
66,000 tons of CO2 a year?
Yep.
Wow.
And the Hamburg project is using wastewater as the heat source. So what we're seeing globally and what we're finding is much like the discussion amongst, the district energy providers here, diversity of fuel, diversity of heat source is a key. So one of the things that we've been doing recently is looking very closely and working with consultants and owners to try to figure out how we better integrate the heat pump into the entire system. So thinking beyond the flanges. So you're going to start to see heat pumps with variable speed drives, which increases the operating range so that we can do things where there's seasonal load conditions, where we can be efficient and able to operate at different leaving water temperatures, both on the hot and the cold side at different times of the year. You're also going to see things like integrated combined heat exchangers, where there's two bundles in a heat exchanger, where we could be maybe delivering hot water at 170 degrees to a campus, but when the heating load's reduced, we can maybe shed some of that load in the other half of the condenser bundle to a cooling tower or other things that increases the operating time for a heat pump. So really working with customers, really working with engineers to kind of integrate those heat pumps into the system, right? And a good colleague of mine, Joe Brillhart, that was chairman here before, used to have a saying, we love BTUs, reuse them, don't lose them.
That does deserve some applause, yeah. Thanks, Sam. So efficiency and reusing BTUs and recovering, that's essential. And Ahmad, in the Middle East, right, you've been investing in technologies to drive the efficiency up of your district cooling systems. And now we're hearing that greater deployment. We know it's happening in the Middle East. We know it's happening in Asia Pacific. And recently, Empower underwent a very successful public offering to create a pool of capital. How does your experience of raising capital for your business, does that make you feel that district cooling is really kind of in a sweet spot and ready to roll?
Good morning. First of all, the concept of district cooling, it is actually, or literally, it's new on the Middle East. It's just for the last 20 years. And when we established our organization, when I started it, it was an idea that we need to make the public own some shares in Empower. And we managed over the last 6 months to offer Empower as a public stock company, public joint stock company, just to put the right phrase. And we really find a lot of interesting from the investors, cornerstone investors, whether they are internationally or locally or regionally, in the district cooling. And that's really reflects the requirement and the necessity of district cooling in that part of the world. And also, it is the future of technology where we are heading to, and investing on the green initiatives comes by government of Dubai and also driven by the UAE government to support all the policies toward the green investment. To be honest with you, Empower, when we offer it in public, we manage to be oversubscribed in our collection by $33.9 billion. And this is 47 multiple oversubscribed. That show us that the concept of district cooling, it's actually trigger that most of the investors to invest on it with very high yield. We are paying 6.4% return annually. So basically, it's better than the Fed rate if you guys want to invest. And there is also a reason why we reach there. First of all, there is a strong government-supported policy to go and shift to the district cooling from the traditional system. As you all know, there is a huge development in the Middle East, especially on our region in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain. There is a lot of development, increase in population, more opportunity of works there. There is a lot of developments, and when it comes, there is a huge potential for every single individual increase in population, one of the major factors, especially with the geopolitical situation in Europe and Ukraine and Europe. So most of the capital are immigrant capitals coming and settled on a warm beaches where they are interested in buying houses. And we have unprecedented growth in real estate development for the last almost couple of years. And we have achieved a lot of growth. Also, one of the most important things that the concept of district cooling, it's getting strengthened in compared to the traditional system. People are looking at the cost parity. They don't want to spend a lot of money on their utilities. So basically they are shifting to the building where they have district cooling. And also district cooling market has been expanding a lot into the big new project in Dubai. Also in Empower, we have one of the solidarity of Empower that we have our in-house capability in terms of operation and maintenance, where we are really succeeding. Most of my team are sitting here. They are enjoying always participating in IDEA and learning from you guys. And this is something that we have to look at it. We could not do that unless we have the growth story of City of Dubai. And that's really the driver and the success of Empower as an entity. I think I've covered most of.
Thank you, Ahmad. No, clearly the district cooling and air conditioning is not a convenience or a luxury in a market like Dubai. It's a life safety matter. And I think we're seeing similar experience in Europe where the challenge of no gas and no power is really, it's frightening, and I never mean to make light of it. Alexander, earlier this year, the IFC, the International Finance Corp, you undertook a study to look at where district cooling could be implemented. Where were the markets potentially? What did you find? Where is IFC looking to help germinate and grow and support the development of district cooling?
Definitely. Thank you, Rob. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. For those of you who might not know, International Finance Corporation is a private sector arm of the World Bank Group. We essentially we finance private companies in developing countries. Last year, our total investment commitment reached $32.8 billion globally. We are committed to addressing climate change. We follow World Bank Group's Climate Change Action Plan, 2021-2025. And we view sustainable district energy as part of the climate solution. We've been financing district energy for the last 15 years, mostly district heating systems in Eastern and Central Europe. Recently, we made our first investment in district cooling. We made an equity investment together with Tabreed and formed a district cooling platform in India, which recently announced its groundbreaking project there. And so following this investment, we decided to initiate a study on what are some of the high potential emerging markets in district cooling. And I would like to thank IDEA for your contributions to the scope and design of the study.
You're welcome.
So in a nutshell, district cooling is happening in emerging markets. We started looking at about 20 countries and deployed a top-down and bottom-up approach, and we identified 4 high potential countries. So they are Colombia, Egypt, Malaysia, and Thailand. In terms of market maturity, Malaysia has the most district cooling systems in operation of the 4. Malaysia has over 30 district cooling systems in operation. Some of them are scalable. Some of them have capacities of over 20,000 refrigeration tons, followed by Egypt, which has about 10 district cooling systems in operation, followed by Colombia, which has 7, but many more are coming, and I'm sure Cristina will be talking more about this, as well as Thailand, which has 5 systems in operation, but they have a number of what I would call mega projects which are coming up. In terms of the primary drivers of district cooling, I would say it's pure economics. It's cost competitiveness. Essentially, when properly designed, district cooling is just cheaper than conventional cooling solutions if you look at life cycle costs, even taking into account higher upfront investments that are required for that. Some countries do recognize climate benefits, but I would say, again, the primary driver is pure price competitiveness. When you look at the enabling environment for district cooling regulatory framework, district cooling is largely unregulated in those markets. So some countries have national action plans. For instance, India has a national action plan which references district cooling quite often, but it doesn't have a district cooling code. There's another example of Egypt, which has an established district cooling code, but no national strategy. So it's sort of in between. Essentially, district cooling is governed by commercial law, and it's most often it's regulation by contract in right. those countries. To sum up, we see a lot of potential in district cooling in those 4 markets. We have pre-identified project leads with capacity, cumulative capacity of over 700,000 refrigeration tons. We are very keen on developing and promoting district cooling solutions, and especially being the finance institution, we're interested in financing district cooling in emerging economies. So if your utility or your company, if you're interested in expanding your operations outside of developed economies and looking into emerging markets, we would be very happy to talk to you. I'll be making a more detailed presentation this afternoon, so thank you.
Well done, Alexander, and thank you so much for coming and sharing. And I feel like it's fortunate you're sitting next to Cristina, who has really been an advocate for developing district cooling in Colombia, really for many years. Cristina, in your role there, you know, it feels like I'm sort of reliving history, because 30 years ago, our friends from the Middle East said, IDEA, please come to the Middle East to help us with best practices and support the district cooling industry. And we're doing the same. We're going to come to Cartagena in September for a conference that you're curating. But tell us, why is district cooling so important in Colombia and Latin America? Do you see opportunity for our industry to help you, accelerate the growth and provide cleaner energy to the communities?
Okay, thank you, Rob, for the invitation and participation in this panel. Latin America is an emerging market, so it's very interesting for this industry, district cooling industry, to know about our countries, because in this moment we have 2 big commitments as international global problems. The first one is the climate change program, the agreement from Paris. The last year, or the 2 last year, I don't remember, we grow the commitment, the percentage of mitigation phase to the Paris Agreement. So we must to take measures about mitigation of climate change. And the second one is Kigali's amendment in the framework of the Montreal Protocol. In this moment, all the Latin American countries are planning their programs in order to introduce new technologies phasing down the HFCs. So these 2 commitments are very important for the Latin American countries, and we need to seek for technologies that could help us to arrive to these commitments. This was the first step in Colombia. The district energy strategy in Colombia burns from the Montreal Protocol and the climate change mitigation program. In this moment, we are working with the Switzerland government. They support us introducing the district cooling as a solution for the air conditioning sector in Colombia. We did an inventory in 2018, and the projection of growing the energy and the use of refrigerants for 2030 was the double from 2018. So I don't have the figures, but I think for the 2015 we have a very big challenge to go down the growing of refrigerants and the growing of use of energy in air conditioning systems. Air conditioning in Latin America, it's a growing market, and in this moment, technologies, we have a very efficient technologies, but it's expanded a lot, and some in the main in some sectors like residential and commercial, they don't use the most efficient technologies. In this moment, for example, we don't have a MEPS. MEPS is performance energy minimum standards of performance of equipment for air conditioning. So we still imported low efficient technology in air conditioning. So we have a lot of challenge, and a lot of opportunities to introduce district cooling as an answer for improve the air conditioning market and low the use of energy in our countries.
So, Cristina, really, you're facing sort of a convergence of multiple factors: global warming potential, climate change, refrigerant limitations, and really just the need to, because as the population adopts and utilizes more air conditioning for not just luxury, but really efficiency, optimization, et cetera, you want it to be as clean and efficient as possible. So, other panelists, how could you see us helping as IDEA or as organizations? How could you see us helping Cristina with her mission to, move forward more effectively?
Yeah, I've been through the same experience 20 years ago, and I can tell you what's happening. First of all, you have to have supported from the government and the policy to mandate the district cooling on the mega project, or after more than X requirement, 3 megawatt of electricity that you require to go for a district cooling. Any new development from now until 20 years must use the district cooling. The penetration of the district cooling concept, trust me, when we started in Dubai and we come up with this concept, people start raising the flag. Sorry, it's very expensive. We don't want it. We don't want to go with the district cooling. We hold our price for the last 20 years. We did not raise it, even if we have the CPI, the inflation rate exercise, but we did not exercise it. We hold our rates. The concept was to expand the district cooling in Dubai and in the UAE, on the region also. And that's really educate the players into the market, our competitors, that focus in technology, a lot of innovation and research and development to enhance our performance. And by having saying that, by doing this, we invest on the TSC, treated sewage effluent. We invested on the thermal storage tank, where we don't have a differentiated rate at that point of time, but I think in the future it's gonna come. We have started, we were the pioneer who started changing the district cooling from service provider to the developers to make it as a utility. Now we are serving 140,000 customers. We are billing them monthly. So you should set the bar high, work to that goal, but you need real backup from the government or from the municipal service.
So Ahmad's advice is get the rules right, and that's phase one. Sam, would you something to add in your experience?
Yeah, sure. I was going to add a little bit to what Ahmad said. If I think back to that beginning of district cooling in the Middle East, it's not just the district cooling companies, it's all of the companies that support that, whether it's OEMs, consulting engineers, construction companies, right? They often don't have the footprint there to support the kind of growth that we're talking about. So finding key partners that are willing to invest in those regions and work with you over time and still be there 20 years later, sitting next to each other, working together. It's an important part of this, because this is not a short-term business, right? It's a long-term investment.
It
And so that's capacity, right? It's not just, you know, refrigeration capacity. It's really industry,
Industry,
partnering,
people.
equipment, service, technology, awareness. Werner, I mean, I think in Germany, you know, there's a lot of, you know, capacity. There's a lot of district energy. But in your view, is getting the rules right, you know, sort of the most important first thing?
Well, I would say yes. At the moment, yes. It's the first time since I'm in this job since 20 years that we are really talking much more about district heating than we talked before about it. And you're right, we have much more district heating in Europe than the other countries, and we will develop this hopefully during the next 10 to 20 years to get it, well, to double the district heating capacity and, well, to get somehow rid of, as I said, gas and oil. So the interesting thing at the moment is that, or was that our politics showed up with people sitting or living in one house with a heat pump and an electric car beside and a windmill somewhere, but this is not the reality. The reality is big cities, and big cities, you need somehow to serve big cities, so you need district heating, you need to have enough electricity, and I think we at the moment need to have the right laws to get there.
And so your comment is, you know, most of the carbon occurs in cities, and you know, currently I think 5.5 billion people live in cities. It'll soon be 7 billion people, and so that's where Gretzky would go, right? That's where the puck is headed. Aksana, you know, in your experience, are cities really sort of setting the pace in Europe? Are they the agent of change and progress?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Of course, they are advised by our organization. We have implemented some studies at the European level, and these scientific studies have demonstrated that the potential of district heating to supply heating and cooling is equal to 50% of the heating and cooling demand in Europe. We are far from this potential. District heating represents currently around 12% on average in Europe, so we have a long way to go.
Quadruple, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
But the awareness about it is there, as well as the awareness about the potential of local sustainable heat sources available in cities is there. Waste heat represents an enormous untapped potential in cities in Europe. We are not only talking about industrial waste heat sources from factory, from steel production and paper, but we're also talking about urban waste heat sources. There are very interesting projects being implemented in Europe about waste heat recovery from data centers, from subway stations, from tertiary buildings such as hospitals, hotels, supermarkets, and wastewater treatment plants. So these sources only could cover up to 12% of the heating and cooling demand in cities. And we are happy to see the developments, we are happy to see these projects being implemented and lessons being shared from these projects. So we've got very, very good cooperation initiatives in Europe. We had a Celsius initiative that gathers city representatives, local authorities interested in developing district heating projects. And they could meet and share their experiences, share their challenges and possible solutions. And we at Euroheat Empower aim at continuing this support to cities. by providing crash courses on district heating and cooling.
Thanks, Aksana. Cristina, do you see the same sort of emphasis in Latin America where district energy is really a solution for larger communities, cities, campuses, clusters? Is that really where the focus needs to be?
Yes, I would like to say in Colombia, most of the 70% of the cities needs this air conditioning for living. Yeah. Because we are a tropical country. Our weather is the same all the year, so it's a very interesting market for district cooling. So our cities are a very good opportunity to introduce district cooling as a solution for different sectors. We are working in three ways at the same time. We are working with the government, with the national government and the local governments in 10 cities in order to introduce district energy in their policies. We are in this moment in the energy efficient policy of the national government. We are an NDC for the climate change mitigation for the national government too. And we are in 2 planning land programs in 2 cities. And in 10 of our cities, we are in the climate change planning. So district energy becomes in Colombia a concept important for the governments and for our policies. The second way is the knowledge, and you know very well, we are promoting the district energy discussion in universities, in different sectors. We have the contest of universities that IDEA support every year since 3 years ago. And this is very important because we have important human capacity to develop this kind of solution. But not only in the technical subject. We need to introduce more financial models, commercial models for the contracts with the end users. And the third way is to support the feasibility studies of district cooling in Colombia. In this moment, we have more than 21 studies of feasibility in different sectors: industrial sector, health sector, commercial sector, and residential. And we are promoting the shift to district cooling to district energy. We have one district energy working in industrial sector, very interesting, that they supply different energetics for different industries. So we have a very interesting context in this moment in Colombia, and we are thinking to scaling up this to other countries in the region. By the OLADE, for example, the Latin American Energy Organization has working with us. We are working with the Ozone Montreal Protocol Latin America organization in order to introduce this concept in other countries too. Some of the countries are seeing in Colombia a leader to promote district cooling and district energy. It's like Central America, and our neighborhood is very interested in our experience. So we can improve our experience with the experience from the other countries, other regions of the world, but we can scaling up this experience in our countries, países hermanos. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Cristina. So really it's about demonstrating success, right? Because success has 1,000 fathers, failure is an orphan. But Colombia, you're doing the study, you have 21, sort of locations, potential. Alexander, from the IFC perspective, what do you view as most important? Is it local champions and support from the ministry, like Cristina? Is it market opportunity? What does IFC sort of see as the sweet spot to support investment in these technologies?
Definitely. Thank you, Rob. A great question. I think, well, we're a finance institution. So for us, we address the financial barrier, the access to finance. We understand that what we heard from the 4 countries we looked at is that often finance is the barrier. But I think that the sweet spot, it has to be a combination of many things. So it's not just one thing. I think it's, as we saw, enabling environment it's basically mostly unregulated. Some countries like Colombia, they offer incentives for district energy systems. I think there's a VAT tax exemption and appreciated depreciation, accelerated depreciation, sorry. But also I think 2 important factors I'd like to bring out. When we see most successful district cooling development, it's often a partnership between an experienced partner, typically a regional or international district energy utility who brings a lot of expertise from their projects, and in partnership with a local partner. So either a local utility or a real estate developer, maybe commercial, industrial parks, healthcare, hospitals, and so on. But it's really that partnership that you need to have international expertise to avoid blunders in developing district cooling, because in absence of district cooling pilot projects, you need to see a good example. And if the first pilot is not successful, it can be really off-putting. What we're seeing mainly the limitations on the engineering domestic capacity in some countries, and that typically leads to suboptimal design of district cooling systems where they get typically over-designed, and as a result you don't operate at your sweet spot. Another area I'd like to point out is raising awareness. Earlier we spoke about cities, and in some countries, for instance Egypt, they're building 15 new, what they call 4th generation or smart cities. So a lot of district energy growth will be promoted by these new cities. In places like Colombia, there are some new cities being built, but it's mainly the growth of commercial real estate that will lead district cooling. But some of the cities, greenfield cities, new cities which are being built, which I've seen, master planners, off the bat, they include split units as the main solution. And it's very sad. And I think raising awareness of policymakers is key. For instance, we work as the World Bank Group with the government of India, where one of the recommendations to help them implement the India Cooling Action Plan is to mandate feasibility studies of district cooling systems in dense urban areas with cooling potential of over 8,000 refrigeration tons per square kilometer. So educating policymakers, I think, goes a long way. So.
Thanks, Alexander. So we're actually on time, but I want to allow everyone maybe 30 seconds, sort of a quick, the question I posed to the last panel. How confident are you that district energy will play a role in the, in your market, in your community, in your country by now through 2030? Werner, we're going to start with you. How confident?
Well, it took a lot of time to educate politicians, but I think at the moment we never had a better time than we have it now, and I think this is now the right time to develop district heating in the right way.
So we are the cool kids in a high school cafeteria, finally.
You're
Alexander.
Right.
Definitely, I second that. As I mentioned, we have pre-identified over 700,000 refrigeration tons of projects, mainly in commercial sector, mixed use in developing countries. I think increasingly what we will see is the recognition of climate benefit of district energy systems. Again, I'd like to give a nod to Cristina. Colombia explicitly included district energy in its nationally determined contributions, basically commitment to climate change. So I'm pretty sure that we will see much more, and we're already seeing it. It just makes economic sense. So.
Very good. Thank you, Alexander. Cristina, the circular economy, really supporting local economies, will that be the driver? What's your view? I don't mean to put words.
Okay, I think we are in the perfect storm of challenge and opportunities in Latin America. We have many challenges to introduce in our countries, and district cooling and district energy are the solutions. So I am very confident that our policies, our market, and our end users and customers could be aware about the needs to be more efficient, to be more resilient, and to have a very low environmental impact. So I'm very confident that the work that we are doing in Colombia, we can scaling up in our region, and we can motivate other markets to introduce the technology in Colombia. For example, it's very important that, I don't know who is saying, the utilities work together. That was the case in Colombia, it was the case in Medellin. The utility of Medellin comes to other utility, international utility, and they grow and learn together. So there are a lot of opportunities for utilities here to work with our utilities that are very aware about this solution.
Very good. Thanks, Cristina. So Aksana, seems like Cristina said the perfect storm. Do you see the same sort of opportunity and tailwinds in Europe?
Yes, we have very encouraging projections for district heating and cooling in Europe. But we need to make sure that we also have talents in our society who will be able to implement these projects, build, maintain district heating and cooling systems. This is why we pay a lot of attention to the knowledge transfer activities and to educating and training the young generation of district heating experts. I was delighted to see that the topic of the theme of this IDEA conference is empowering the next generation, and it resonates very much with my opinion, with my role as well at Euroheat Empower. So thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to share our education and training experiences in Europe yesterday at the Young Professionals Group. But also what is key, in my opinion, is the collaboration between countries and between continents to share best practices, to recognize them, to reward them. And hence, I would like to mention our joint initiative, the Global District Energy Climate Awards, that we co-organized together with IDEA, with the support of IEA and the Asia Pacific Urban Energy Association, the International Finance Corporation. So please apply for these awards in the upcoming editions and share your success stories, innovative district energy systems with the rest of the world.
Thank you, Aksana. Thanks very much. Hey, I know it's so important that we mobilize and activate and inform and advance and connect, the next generation. Sam, from JCI's view?
So just two perspectives here. One is obviously the activity from Latin America, from Europe. The business that I see going on clearly tells me that district energy is here to stay. It's growing globally. The other indicator I have is, so at the end of the evening last night, I had the opportunity to talk to Ray DeBose for 2 minutes. Ray said when he attended his first conference, there was 33 attendees. 33. There's more than 33 brand new people here who've never been to a conference before. So just the activity in this conference, in this room, tells me the interest in district energy and the future is here.
Thank you, Sam. Well said. Ahmad, last point from you. Bullish, 50 million square feet a year, guaranteed?
65.
Oh, okay.
Well,
He's up in.
we strongly believe in district cooling in the Middle East, specifically in Dubai, and I'm very confident it's going to be one of the new concepts that started 20 years and it will continue in the future. We are willing to share our experience, not only in Dubai, we are actually looking to move into the region. There is a horizon and opportunity of expanding this concept even to the United States market. I'm looking very aggressively to enter into this market as a partnership. Definitely, I'm not going to start on my own. And I'm looking at the concept of district cooling. It's worth it to be spread all over the world because it is, at the end of the day, it is one planet where we all live on it. And district cooling, it is the way for the future.
One planet. That's an excellent closing thought. Let's give our panelists a nice round of applause. And I just want to offer their friendship, the connectivity to them. I mean, they're here on the panel, but they're also here in the program and participating. So, you know, it's my pleasure to have such wonderful, you know, talent and people and perspective and leadership. So thank you all again for coming, and thank you for being part of IDEA. And I'd urge many of you to, you know, please get to know them and get their business card and connect. And now I'd like to invite you to join. I'm sorry, even I am cold, so which is really an achievement, right? So I apologize for the meat locker. We'll make an improvement for lunch. Please join our exhibitors, have some recaffeinate, have some refreshment, relax, connect, and we'll see you. And the program begins. All the tracks are out there, and we'll be back here at lunch. And thank you again. Okay. Well done, ladies and gentlemen.